Yo, this is Rokkweiler. This is a breakdown of the demo I produced for Armiku's project StarDance sample pack. This project file will be available in the sample pack as a free bonus. So if there's anything that you see that you'd like to lift from this project file, you are free to do so. The first thing I started with, and really what I always start with, is the bass and maybe like the main motif, maybe the bass against the vocals. And really, I mean, if we pull off this sample, you can see that it's a little different from the bass that is available in the Project StarDance sample pack. What I'm doing is I'm just messing with the fades, you know, maybe reversing it a bit, giving it a little bit of room here, right? And I'm literally just messing with the crossfades and everything to make an entirely different sound. And then maybe I'm doing this, right? Then I'm rendering it to audio. And this is what the bass sounds like on its own. Now, do note that this part of the basses as a fill did not exist until I threw in the corresponding vocal that has the same rhythmic motif. So together that sounds like this. So after the basses, I added in the vocals, and the vocal that I started with was the, I guess it's like, I love it. Ooh, I love it vocal. And the original vocal doesn't sound anything like this.
Ooh, I love it.
It's like breathy almost, right? So then I chopped up some more vocals to give a more like call and response feel to it. Pair that with more of the vocals that I added. I added this little like chop chant to it. So basses and vocals all together now sound like this. Pretty sick. Let's match that with the drums. And the drum pattern really isn't much. I mean, it's literally just focusing on the offbeats right here, or just straight eighths or straight 16ths. It's really not that much. So Vox, basses, and drums together now sound like this. And really all that's after is to just add some supporting effects, which I did. Those sound like this. Now the second section, we have this new vocal acapella that comes in that's introduced.
If you really wanna dance, this is your fucking chance. Feel the treble, feel the bass. This ain't an inner trance. If you really wanna dance.
What's important to note is that there is a significant break for the bridge that gives enough breath for the switch to take place, right? So how do we do that? We cut out a lot of the flow, right? We make it feel a little bit legato, more of like a build. So that can be done with filtering, that can be done with cutting out, you know, some drums, as you can see here, and making the flow more of like a crescendo in a sense. And so that's what we have here. And that makes the switch feel so much more impactful when you have that bridge there, right? It just makes it feel a little bit more dramatic. I'm gonna move into processing and what you can actually lift from this project file and from this video. What I'm gonna start with is bass processing. I think I'm most impressed, honestly, by the bass processing I did for this project. I was so impressed that I was like, man, I really want to make this my own bass rack, which I did. And how I did that is I just, you know, if you're in the project file, just go to the main bass audio track and copy acid distortion to the OTT onto a separate audio track, and then go to the basses group and copy from the EQ before G-clip to the beginning EQ. and paste that after that. And then what you can do is you can select all of these, group them together. And if you want to do macros, I would suggest you map the macros from the acid distortion, either both the first and second one or just the second one. Map a macro for the amp, map a macro for the second OTT, and map a macro for the saturator. And that gives you a pretty good bass rack. And for the last section, I'm going to talk about drums and sidechain. So really quick, the best way to process drums, in my humble opinion, is to go with drums full parallel into saturator. We're taking drums full parallel and we're running it through a saturator. And saturator drive is 1 decibel into a soft clip. But what I like to do is, instead of leaving it at default 3 milliseconds for the attack, I set it to 10 milliseconds. The way I view compression is this. It's like the aperture of a camera. The lower the attack millisecond parameter is, the smaller their aperture is going to be, the more focused and tight the response will be, right? And so when we're thinking about drums, we're thinking about transients, right? And transient shaping and control. We can hear the difference right here. There's much more body present in the drums when we have 10 milliseconds enabled, right? There's a little bit more clarity in the space of the drum. Now, when we're talking about punch, we also need to talk about a drum bus, right? Specifically a reverb on your drum bus. So let's hear an A and B without it on. Now with it on. There's just so much more punch to the drums. Now, how I'd like to wrap this video up is with an important sidechain technique that I learned from a man named Aaron Roman. He's a mastering engineer out of Sydney, and he goes by APR Studio or APRS on Instagram. There is this awesome technique that you can do with Ableton stock plugins that makes your sidechain extremely clean. So what we're going to do to set up this sidechain is you're going to duplicate your kick and snare tracks, and then you're going to consolidate the area. Then what you will do is you'll open each consolidated file and you'll make sure it's set to beats mode, preserve transients, set it to through. Then you want to set the parameter on the right of it, the 100, how much of the signal is coming through. You want to set it to 0. That way we only get the sharp transient. Really short. Then what you're going to do is you're going to throw on an envelope follower on each. This is both for your kick and snare. Then what you're going to do with your default envelope follower, let me grab one. You're going to set the modulation percentage to -100%. You're going to set it to one direction. What it's telling you is that it's going to go one direction, 100% downwards. And then we're going to map it to an EQ before our sidechain. And the EQ is going to be centered, the band is going to be centered around the formant. We're cutting out space for the formant of our drums. Now, if we go back to the envelope follower, you'll notice that I have an input gain. It's really not hitting the ceiling. We want it to hit the ceiling. So we put it in 17. So after you've mapped both of those, you'll want to adjust the Q for each of these. Here's a before. Here's after. Much more impressive. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching this video. Big thanks to the Armaku team for letting me be a part of Project StarDance. And I wish you luck on your path to innovation.